It's time to pause for peace with me, Pastor Jule. Welcome. This podcast is being released on July 7th, 2024. And we have just come off of this week in the United States of America of celebrating freedom and independence. So many families get together at this time. It's a season for summer fun. And the week has me thinking about celebration. In fact, I have been gathering with my family to celebrate my eldest sister's birth, and to gather friends and family together to just enjoy the great outdoors, the waves of Lake Michigan, and just the bounty of the earth. And I'm thinking about celebration, especially in reference to Jesus, this amazing teacher, this embodiment of pure love that lived among us. And perhaps you haven't always thought of Jesus in that framework of celebration. It is told in the canonical Gospel of Matthew, one of the texts that records these stories of the life and work of Jesus. It is told that Jesus is being ridiculed for being somebody who liked to party. In fact, think of Jesus. He's like a 30-year-old man at this time in his life. He's a 30-year-old Jewish man living thousands of years ago and just celebrating the joy and zest of being. His people were an occupied people. They were invaded century after century after century, decade after decade. His people had been invaded by other ruling nations that would come in and oppress his people and force them to work for the empire. And that's what's happening at the time of Jesus' life. And yet he was able to find ways to celebrate, to take joy, to find great delight in the abundance of the world, and to rally around him those who would enjoy camaraderie and forge the deep bonds of friendship. Jesus is ridiculed at that portion of the Gospel of Matthew for eating and drinking with sinners, while his predecessor, John the Baptizer, was somebody who lived a life of asceticism, a life of saying no to all those kinds of things. And John was ridiculed for the way John lived his life. And Jesus is calling out this hypocrisy of the spiritual leaders who were saying, like, wait a minute, you don't like the way I'm living my life, that I am like engaging with folks that other people think are unworthy and like unable to be invited into the circle, and maybe not the typical kinds of people that spiritual leaders would gather around them. You don't like the way that I'm living my life, but you didn't like the way that John the Baptizer was living his life either. You thought that he was a fraud for being out in the desert and calling everybody to this path of like asceticism and of letting go and of being outside of the ways of the world and renouncing all sorts of the delights of the earth. And you didn't like the way he was living his life either. And in some ways, Jesus is saying, like, what in the world? Like, we can't please those who have a closed heart. We can't please those who approach the grand adventure of life as something to be held on too tightly and something to be put in a neat little bitty box. And we can't be pleasing those who think that the reason for being here is to be meticulously being ordered and being controlling of every little bitty thing. Jesus is saying, like, we can't please you. Like, I can't please you in the way that I am delighting and celebrating and receiving this gift of life. I can't please you, but I'm not here to please you. Jesus is saying the way of God, this exuberant love that is free and for everybody, the way of God is the path of celebration. That doesn't mean that there aren't moments of deep sorrow, of incredible seriousness and immense somberness. That doesn't mean that this path that Jesus was teaching is always happy-go-lucky. He did some really hard things in his life, and yet he went about giving of himself each day and embracing the joy of this grand adventure. He tried to show other people, like, it's okay to live with a wide open heart. It's okay to seek to find the aspect of God, this love that resides in all different kinds of people all around you. It's okay to speak a word of hope to those who are living in desperation, so that even their own lives look very gnarled and as if there is no sense of self-worth left. It's okay to live a life of joining with all of them and being able to speak a word of love over everybody. Jesus celebrated. Jesus would gather with his friends. In fact, there are stories in the scripture that talk about these moments of great feasting, these times of just coming together to relax and have some repose from this very arduous work that he was about, moving about their world and gathering others together and healing those who were heartsick and those whose bodies were mangled and who themselves had been internally feeling so lost and afraid and even broken. And Jesus would go about his days being there for the people. It took times of great celebration to keep fueled for all of that. And so imagine a 30-year-old man who would come together with his friends and delight in the foods of the earth and take in the beautiful tastes of the earth, the flowing wine of their region. Those who would sit in laughter and enjoy having these incredibly serious conversations, but conversations of much passion and zest about the things that really matter in life, matters of life and death, matters of how to live and how to keep ourselves open to love each day, despite the fact that there are some horrible conditions around. These are the kinds of conversations that Jesus would engage in with his followers, with those who would come on home with him and sit down a spell and relax and enjoy. This was a man who was about grand celebration. And in some ways, when we keep our hearts open, as Jesus did, when we keep our hearts open, we too can be a people of celebration. We can be a people of joy and of laughter and of love. It's not always easy to do that. I realize there are seasons of life for each one of us that are incredibly challenging. It might be that we're struggling with some kind of emotional or mental health matter ourselves. We might be in physical pain. Our own hearts can be breaking over the severing that comes when we lose a loved one, whether we're losing a loved one because a relationship has fallen apart, or we've been betrayed, or we're losing a loved one that has been a significant part of our lives and they're passing from this world to the next. It hurts. It hurts in us because there's a way our hearts literally get broken. The energetic cords between us get all messed up and it hurts very badly. So there are seasons in life when we can find it incredibly challenging to celebrate. And there are ways when we keep our heart open, when we turn to laughter and to joy and seek to connect, there are ways that healing takes place within us. And that interconnection with others allows us to feel a little bit more settled in who we are once again, until the day comes when the sorrow is eased a little bit and we can move back on our journey in a new way. So as we're thinking about celebration, and as we are blessing celebration, because Jesus celebrated and Jesus blessed celebrating with all sorts of folks. Anybody who was willing to join in the dance of life with him was welcome in his presence. And as we're thinking about that amazing gift of seeing this incredible Holy One of God, the embodiment of God, as we're thinking about this sheer love that just continuously broke open the shields around his heart broke those open wide in order to live a life of compassion, and daily would pour out his life, blood, sweat, and tears so that others would be able to enjoy the abundance of life as well. As we're thinking about all those things and entering into seasons of celebration ourselves, perhaps gathering with family or friends over this holiday of our independence as a nation, or perhaps with a family reunion, or maybe you're gathering for a birthday of somebody who's long been in your life, or maybe the birthday of a little bitty baby. As we're thinking about all of these things, I want us to take a little pause to see ourselves whole if we can. Because when we get that perspective on ourselves, when we can literally see ourselves joyous and filled with laughter and purpose, it's a little bit easier to have an open heart that is ready to celebrate. So get yourself comfortable for a few moments, if you will. Take a deep breath from the belly, all the way from the belly. Hold it for a moment before you gently release it. Let's do 3 of those deep cleansing breaths. Might be helpful to close your eyes for this pause for peace practice today. One more deep breath. See in your mind's eye, in your imagination, maybe in the spiritual organ of perception that you have in the middle of your chest, see internally a vision of yourself celebrating. Whether you're celebrating our nation's independence, or whether you're celebrating a dream that is coming to fulfillment, or whether you are celebrating an amazing accomplishment, see yourself celebrating. Literally bring a smile to your lips right now. This will change the entire internal experience that you have. Bring a smile to your lips. Imagine that you are surrounded by all of your loved ones. Whether near or far, all of your loved ones, whether they have passed from this physical manifestation of the world or not, see yourself surrounded by all of your loved ones, people that you admire, people that support you 100%. See them with you at a table, maybe in a circle, at a party that is being thrown just to celebrate you. Listen to the noises that are around you at this party you are internally seeing. And if you are hearing some noises in the background here, I am recording as little ones in this church building are being picked up from their day of preschool, and I believe they had a wonderful day of water play a little bit outside today. So if you're hearing those kinds of noises in the background of this video cast, this podcast, just welcome them. Welcome the sounds of little children, the joy and laughter, the exploration of little children, the guidance of those who tend and care for little children. As you're at this celebration, you're seeing yourself in a light of pure delight, of sheer joy. You're hearing the sounds that are around you. You're seeing the people that have gathered to celebrate you. Notice what's taking place. Are you hearing laughter? Are people coming up to you and saying, "Hey, I'm so glad that you were born," or "Way to go, great job on what you just accomplished"? Imagine that taking place, almost like folks are patting you on the back just for being you. See plenty of support around you, plenty of care around you, loads of kindness around you. And imagine that people are showing expressions of their great appreciation for you. How powerful it would be if you imagine this circle of your peeps actually speaking to you a word or two of what they really admire in you. This could be a really hard exercise, but maybe one by one, we could just allow each one of them to give us a word about what they admire in us. So we're noticing what's taking place in our body right now. And before we depart this time of just surrounding ourselves with this beautiful circle of celebration, let's bow to all those who have showed up, all those who have gathered to celebrate and give affirmation and admiration to you right now. Let's just bow to this experience. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's bow to this amazing holy man, this amazing teacher, this amazing embodiment of the divine that we know and can know even more and more in Jesus. Let's bow to him and each way that he lived his life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being about great celebration. And then when you're ready, if you will tap your feet into the earth, if there's any last thing that you need to hear or that you need to take from this experience of being in this circle of great support and love and exuberant celebration, then note that right now. Notice once again how you're feeling right here in this place as you prepare to come from this experience of being in the imaginal world, in this imaginal realm, coming back into this waking world in which we live and move each and every day. So when you're ready, you can squeeze your knees a little bit and then open your eyes. And I hope that this has been a great experience of celebrating you. I hope that this has been an awesome reminder of the incredible adventure that is life. And I hope anytime you're feeling a little bit down, or anytime you are feeling really, really separated from celebrating yourself, that you can come back to this experience, that you can pause, just take a little break from those critical ways we can be inside, from those very challenging emotions that can arise within us, from the anger that can overtake us. Just take a little break and come on back to this remembrance of grand celebration. In fact, in Christian circles, one way that we are called to come back to this remembrance that Jesus was one who went about his life opening wide his heart and pouring forth the zest of each and every day that he held in his spirit, that he called us to remember and to live likewise. And he did so with simple gifts of bread and the fruit of the vine. And so every time we partake of a little bit of bread, and each time we partake of the fruit of the vine, whether that be through a kind of juice or literally a wine, anytime we partake of that, we can come back to this great sense of delight and joy and zest for life. We can be a people who approach life as a great celebration. Thanks so much for pausing for peace with me today. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of this day, and I hope that you will find ways all throughout the week ahead, not only to celebrate, but to bring yourself back to centeredness whenever you get pulled off, so that we can continue to be a ripple of peace all around this world. Blessings, and I look forward to seeing you next week.